It is 6:49. This is your morning in 8 minutes. A man accused of breaking into a UT fraternity house and threatening multiple students will be in court this morning for a bond hearing. UT police say this is the 5th time police arrested Justin Glenn Hopkins for trespassing on campus. According to a police report, 2 fraternity members at Lambda Chi Alpha say they woke up to Hopkins standing in their bedroom with a knife, threatening them if they called police. Thankfully, no one is hurt. Police say Hopkins had several knives and 2 makeshift spears that were 3 feet long in his backpack. He is charged with aggravated burglary, threatening mass violence on school property, and criminal trespassing. They arrested him later that day on Friday. After a decade of not knowing if they can turn on the faucet or flush the toilet, neighbors living on English Mountain in Sevier County say their water problems are now improving.
A new utility company is in charge of repairs and maintenance. This comes as a state report shows nearly 70% of the water was spilling onto the mountain instead of people's homes. Neighbors would go days, sometimes weeks without water. East Sevier Utility District and Alliance Water have now parted ways, making room for Witt Utility District. Within a week, the company says they've replaced nearly a mile of old pipes. Those living in the area tell us their situation is improving and they're thankful for all the help they're getting years later. This comes as Witt Utility District is facing some backlash for failing to monitor several important chemicals that the EPA requires water companies to test. General Manager Benjamin Harris blames the issue on late lab submissions and a shift in leadership at the company. He says the water is safe to drink. The EPA says the company is now complying with federal drinking water standards.
2 East Tennessee counties, along with 9 others in the state, will receive federal money following December's severe cold. You'll remember that storm brought single-digit temperatures, forcing rolling blackouts by the TVA and leaving more than 300,000 people without power. Knox and Cott counties will be getting the relief money in our area after a major disaster declaration was put into place.
Right now, Knoxville police are looking for 2 people wanted for questioning following a deadly shooting over the weekend. Investigators are looking to talk with Ronald and Carissa Rogers. Police say 25-year-old Artemio Folks from Detroit was shot and killed outside a Western Heights apartment on Saturday afternoon. If you see these 2, please call Crime Stoppers.
And new this morning, the Knoxville Fire Department put out 2 separate fires in the same neighborhood in East Knoxville. The first happened on Plymouth Road around 7 o'clock last night. Crews say it started by someone was cooking unattended and left the equipment. Everyone was outside the home when fire crews got there. No one is hurt. And while crews were putting that fire out, they were called to another fire just down the road on Skyline Drive. KFD says this one started by a gas grill propane tank being used for heating inside a home. Thankfully, no one is hurt in either of these fires. 11 men are facing charges, including one from Morristown this morning after an undercover human trafficking bust by the TBI. These men are accused of trying to buy sex from minors. The TBI placed fake ads online in Bristol trying to arrest people who responded. These men are facing several charges and are in the Sullivan County Jail. One of the accused, George Lopez, is from Morristown. He's charged with 2 counts of solicitation of a minor and prostitution of a minor. And an assistant police chief in Greenville is facing charges this morning. The TBI says Stephen Hickson is accused of assaulting his stepdaughter during an argument at their home on December 10th. Hickson turned himself in yesterday after a grand jury in Greene County charged him with simple assault.
Happening today, state lawmakers will vote on another bill that focuses on drag shows. If passed, it would require people to get a valid entertainer permit from the Adult-Oriented Establishment Board before they're allowed to perform shows. This would apply to public, private, and commercial establishments. And the Kentucky Senate also passed a bill that would ban drag performances on public property or in front of children. The first 2 violations of the proposed law would be misdemeanors, while further offenses would be felonies. Lawmakers opposed to this bill say they will continue to speak up and stand up for those in the LGBTQ community. The bill now heads to the State House. New details as markets in Asia had a shaky start this morning with losses following the collapse of 2 U.S. banks.
The federal government is now stepping in to run those banks while the Biden administration is trying to shore up confidence in the banking system. Both Silicon Valley Bank and New York Signature Bank collapsed between Friday and yesterday. The shockwaves caused trading to halt for more than a dozen other regional banks after their stocks tanked. SVB had more than $200 billion in assets, many of them tech companies. Now, CBS News has learned the bank was operating without a chief risk officer for months before hiring one in January.
We do have a recall alert for dog owners. A recall on a prescription dog food is being expanded. Purina Pro Plan Veterinary Diet's elemental prescription dry dog food. Initially recalled in early February due to a supplier error. Now that recall is expanded because it could have too much vitamin D, which could be bad for dogs. If you think you have this bag, check the production code on the bag with what's being recalled on the FDA's website. We have that for you in the Ask See It On section of the WVLT News app. And right now, Young Williams Animal Center needs your help as they're running out of space for animals. This week, all dogs 6 months and older will be eligible for a $17 adoption fee, which is normally $40. The deal comes after the center says it's seen a critically high number of pets at the shelter. The shelter is also looking for volunteers. The adoption deal lasts through Sunday.
It is 6:55. We want to get a look at the roads with Whitney Turner.
If you're heading out toward McGee-Tyson Airport today, good news, all those flights coming and going are on time except for one minor departure delay. So you're in good shape. Even on Alcoa Highway, both the north and south, that volume is light. 7 out the door on this Tuesday morning. In fact, all those interstates and main roads look good. Just a reminder, so many of you traveling to Sevier County for that spring break. If you are traveling from Gatlinburg up toward Pigeon Forge, you're dealing with this tunnel construction. It is tight quarters as you're traveling through there. In fact, here's a live look at what you're going to experience as you're making your way up from Gatlinburg toward Pigeon Forge on the spur. Just be mindful of crews in the area and be prepared for some significant delays with heavy volume.
Your first alert forecast with meteorologist Paige Noel.
Definitely a cold one if you're stepping out the door in the next little bit. It is 28 right now, Crossville to 32 in Kingston, 33 Knoxville to 34 Sevierville. It's 29 in Newport. Temperatures could drop even a little bit over the next hour or so. You see those winds from the west. They're kind of going to be from the northwest really as we head throughout the day today. Expected to see more of that sunshine, 38 to 45 and then 40. Feeling even colder at times as those winds just shifting there. Could deal with a little bit of mountain snow not only this morning but kind of on and off into the afternoon hours as well. Warming up there Wednesday, 52 to 65 on Thursday. Definitely the pick of the week before that cold front arrives. That's going to bring us some on and off rain to some snow early Saturday, mainly up towards those higher elevations. Now we got the sunshine returning, which is good, but it's looking like a pretty cold weekend.
Yeah, once we get up to Thursday, it's like 65. We try to get there. We try to get hot and nice for spring break, and then just back down on this roller coaster of East Tennessee weather we go. All right, Paige, thanks. 6:56, we're headed over to WBXX. Have a good one.